You're listening to Great Scott, the Office podcast. My name is Jay-Rey, and with me is my ever-coughing desk mate, Jacob.
Hey guys, what's up? It's been up and down here in PA. So like it'll be 60 one day and 20 the next, and it's just wreaking havoc on my system.
No, it's true. All the cats and the dog are all sneezing in my apartment here in northern New Jersey. But you guys have been getting the snow a little bit more. We tend to get like the wind because we're by the ocean. But
yeah, luckily not a lot of snow, but whatever. Before we get started, let's get all the crap out of the way. Visit us at brokenjars.xyz on the internet. If you would like to be our patron, visit us at patreon.com/brokenjars. We have all sorts of reward tiers. You can come chat with us on Discord. I'm there pretty much every day. So let's see. There is a Twitter, I think, but we never use it, so don't bother. You can find me at Jacob Ingalls on Twitter. Check out the other shows, the Dresden Files podcast, High Fantasy, which is a writing podcast, Jay-Rey's podcast, which I don't know if you're still doing.
We're working on retooling it.
Okay. I feel like there's another one, but I've kind of lost track.
Yeah. Ever-expanding network of amazing shows.
That's right. And a big shout out to our man Greg. He emailed us this week. He sounds like a super fan. Been to like Scranton for like office cons and stuff.
Yeah.
So big shout out to him. Thanks for listening.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that's worth mentioning here. Talked about some cool stuff about how the producers of the show will contact like the Wilkes-Barre surrounding area Chamber of Commerce to get like stuff to stick around their set. Obviously they shoot in LA, we all know that, but some of the exteriors are done in Scranton. Everybody knows that John Krasinski shot the intro of The Office bit, but he shared that too in case you didn't know. So I'm not to minimize his contributions. I'm sorry, Greg. So sorry. Yeah. And then he went to those office cons, which is crazy. I mean, I can't think of another show that has a convention at the place it's based out of.
So many shows are in Chicago, in New York, in whatever,
Yeah.
Actually, they're all pretty much in Chicago or LA at this point, but
yeah. So I guess to have one like in this, really, it's a random town in Pennsylvania,
right? And from everything we've talked about, they actually tried really hard to keep it, make the show feel like it was there. It wasn't just there; it was actually. They made it feel like it was actually there.
Right. But yeah, so if you've got stuff to contribute or whatever, send them into brokenjarsbroadcasting@gmail.com, and we read it. Everybody reads it. The whole network reads it. People from Dresden Files read it, and they're like, "What the hell is it, Dunder?"
Please excuse any coughing you hear today. I will do my best to keep everything muted, but it is early spring, so it's the time of the year to get sick.
My girlfriend is catching up. She had taken a break from our show, which is fair because I talk to her every day. So she spent her commuting hours listening to me too. But I guess there was an episode a couple weeks back where I was sick and I was trying to mute my mic every time I blew my nose. And apparently one time my syncopation was off. So I actually unmuted my mic and then did a big old one into the mic.
Yeah, you did. Yep. This is why you got to listen to the show, man. You got to listen to the tape.
I know. Well, at some point, what am I going to do? It's like I've already blown my nose. And if I'm listening to it, it's already live. So
Right. So anyway, we are getting into sort of, I think this is we're capping off the first third of the season. This is where we're going to be hitting episode 7 and 8 of season 7, starting with Christening, written by Justin Spitzer and directed by Gene Holland.
So we start off with Pam doing her office administrator thing by trying to teach office hygiene.
Right. Which this happens every year at every workplace. There's some kind of email or video or whatever about the proper ways to cough and
right.
It's essentially wash your hands a lot.
Yeah. But this culminates in Dwight accusing this program kind of to weaken humanity's ability to deal with diseases, and that instead of using hand sanitizer, we should actually be exposing ourselves to small doses of diseases so our antibodies can,
Right. And there's some science in that, if the more you expose yourself to, the more you have a chance to fight off. But the more fights you pick, the higher probability that you'll lose one of them, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess for reference, while I move this whole table, okay. Dwight's solution is a bowl of dirt and vomit and fecal matter. Sorry, not specifically feces, just matter of the fecal.
Right, which I think it was Michael had a very negative reaction towards the feces.
Yeah,
like that was the part that got Michael.
Yeah. So Jim starts to sneeze on Dwight because that's what he wants, and the whole office really kind of joins in.
And he just goes with it.
Yeah.
People like spit in his sandwich and all this stuff, and he's like he doesn't look happy about it, but he's doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because I feel like we know Jim has paid everybody in the office $5 to call him the wrong name before, right?
Right.
This feels like everybody's volunteering to do it, which feels indicative to me of maybe them kind of being mad at him.
I just thought it was like, well, maybe.
And I feel like, because I bring that up because I feel like Dwight wouldn't catch that part of it. I think he thinks that they're just doing him this quote unquote favor.
Right.
Because he's like so far up his own butt in regards to, being a survivor. He's not realizing that this all may be a slight against him.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. But I mean, Dwight being Dwight, even if you don't have a problem with him, you're going to take your opportunity to get back at him, because he's done something to piss you off,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So he's sort of just accrued all these negative credits in his his goodwill account at, Scranton National Feelings Bank.
Yeah. So the crux of our episode is that it is Cece's christening.
Right.
I don't remember being christened. I don't know if I ever was. Judging by the fact that oftentimes I'll walk past a cross and it'll start to spark in flame, I may not be on the right side of that whole thing. But it's awkward. And before we jump into the thing, I'll just say right off the bat, it's just weird that so many people are in that church. I feel like the ones I've attended where I wasn't being christened because I was an adult man, were like for the family. But as we get through this episode, we find out that there's actually a pretty large group. There's the kids. There seem to be regular Sunday churchgoers, and then there's this christening crew.
Normally, christenings will happen during a service of some kind.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with like a lot of baptisms are that way, where they happen beginning, ending of the service kind of thing. It's in the flex spot. Like if you were to look at like church service, diagram, you got like your introduction, your music, and then there's this flex spot that you can like rotate stuff in and out of. Then you have the message, and then like the ending music. So,
okay, all right, little Toby Jr. over there, but yeah. Well, then that makes sense then, because really the hilarity of this episode is because of this Mod Podge of people who are attending today.
Right. I don't know. It just felt a little weird that Jim and Pam were doing this. Like, I don't know if it was for Mimas or if it was just something their family does, because they've never really been religious in the show, and so it seemed odd to have one in a church.
Yeah, because they always played up Angela's religiousness as like being crazy.
Right. But you can be religious without being crazy religious, I mean, there is that.
There is not. Nope. No, it's true. Well, and I guess, too, what's interesting to me is like, and follow me. as we fall down the rabbit hole, Jacob.
Okay.
And we'll keep it a short rabbit hole.
Mm.
But I feel like, generally speaking, comedy writers, being comedians, often kind of stray away from things of like religious nature. I feel like you're thinking LA, a lot of liberal people, progressive types or whatever, probably not super religious, on the outset, right?
Right.
But so am I wrong in that assumption? And people are like, no, we should do it this way. Or are they writers doing something because like of where the show is located?
I mean,
This is a Pennsylvania thing, maybe.
I
Not
mean, Catholic and Anglican is very big, at least here in Pittsburgh. I don't know about the other side of the state, but I would assume that. And I think this has to be Anglican because of the female minister. Because I don't know if Catholics are down with that yet.
I don't think they've got there yet.
Okay,
yeah.
So
they're still rocking that AOL,
So yeah, it just seemed out of place, especially. I don't know this is another one of those like Jacob's pet peeves with television shows, because I grew up in a non-denominational church, right? More contemporary, that kind of stuff. And whenever you see that stuff on television, it's always the crazy people. Like, for once, I just want to see like a normal church, like, because everyone's like Christianity equals Catholicism / Anglicanism, and it's just like there's this weird like gap in Hollywood there.
Well, I feel like whenever though religion is brought up, like it kind of takes you out of it, not in terms of like its immersion, but in terms of like am I supposed to be watching this? Because like, right, you're talking about a church being Christianity, but like I've been watching a lot of Broad City lately, and the two female characters there are Jewish. So they'll make a comment about like, you're a good Jewish girl, but then like when something Jewish happens, it's like, oh, like we're doing this, like you're making me watch this right now. Yeah, so it is an interesting topic. It's funny, someone pointed out so I haven't seen it yet, and I've never read the book. It passed my school curriculum, but Wrinkle in Time just came out, right? So we're going to watch it, and someone said, hey, by the way, I know you've never seen it and you're going to watch it, but just a heads up, there's like a lot of Christian tones to it, which is funny because I feel like 20, 30 years ago, people would be like, oh, such and such movie is the devil. But like now we're warning people about religious stuff, like we're kind of reversed on it now because people have at least people on the coastal regions, right? The blue state media bubble areas are like, oh, religion, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely happened more and more recently. Yeah, it just seemed odd because it just appeared. Yeah. This church service just appeared. And it's obvious. I mean, I guess they do a good job of showing that, it's obvious they don't go to this church really.
Right.
Because like the minister, she calls them the halberts.
Yeah.
Or halibut's, some kind of fish. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tuna. Like, someone that writers room is like, we got to make a fish joke.
Yeah. So we'll go through. I mean, the ceremony itself is pretty tame, but everybody from the office is there, obviously, and Angela's being really nice to Cece.
Of course,
for babies, yeah.
And Ryan is being like ultra douche about religion, like smoking the opiate of the masses.
That's
and
right.
All that stuff.
That reference at all. Dwight is at the door giving out his business cards
for all your printer paper needs.
Yeah, go so far as to him joining in like the community prayer moment where people like share whatever and,
prayer requests. Yeah.
Offers a 4% discount on anybody who buys a full price printer.
I mean, come on. If you're going to offer a discount, offer a legit discount, Dwight. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like 5 is better than 4.
Well,
even though it's only 1%.
Right. But it's one of those like mental humps.
Right.
Yeah, there's entire college courses on pricing strategies.
Yeah. So there's been some trending conversations as of late, and it's always a frequent topic of conversation on the subreddit for The Office. But this episode is heavily featured in this theory of who is the Scranton Strangler. Now, we're going to see a little bit of it in the next episode, but Toby has a reaction to being at the church, and we know he has a history, right? He was trying to be a minister or a priest or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he has trouble going in, and he ends up missing most of the service.
I think he misses
He
the
might not
entire
even
service
at all.
yeah.
People were trying to use this scene, of him not being able to go in, and then eventually asking Lord Jesus, why are you so mean to me, in this very Charlie Brown kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And people have been saying that is because he's guilty for strangling people, but I think it's more so just like his past feelings of, being a priest and then abandoning it.
I think we should wait to get to that scene until later when we get through some of the episode, because that's I think it's a really important scene for Toby in general. So Michael, being Michael, he goes up to Jim and Pam, is like doing his, whatever voice, Godfather voice, trying to sit down with them, and he's like, hey, he's saying something about, how he's the Godfather.
Right.
And Pam is like, I love when you do this, but I need you to tell me you know this. And, so I assume they told him and he just didn't believe them.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I feel like it could be he's just assuming. Because, it's no surprise, but we know Michael has a way of inserting himself into things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of me wonders, he gets the invite. He's like, oh, cool. Obviously, I'm going to be the Godfather. As if it's going to be a surprise thing, they get up there.
Come on down. You're the Godfather.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's kind of where he came from. So he's hinting that, I want to be the Godfather.
Maybe. But there was a throwaway line when everyone was showing up that they were surprised that so many people came.
Right.
So I wonder if it was an open invitation or Michael gave them some kind of treat to go, kind of like in Niagara.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that could be.
It feels like there's a deleted scene that is out there that just explains all of this, but it seems choppy.
Yeah, especially because they make it a point in the next episode to kind of give a reason as to why people might feel like they have to go to the viewing party. And here we're just at the church. Everybody's there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so he's a little irritable, and we find out that the godparents are actually two people that Pam met during a mommy-daughter class, something or other. New friends, not some old friends, yeah.
Are godparents and stuff, is that something in your tradition of family that you do, or?
Wow, what a weird way to ask that question, but I appreciate your tact. Brown people, I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, my dad is Catholic, and I do have godparents, but I never see them. So if I was closer to my family, because I think generally the shtick is goodness gracious forbid, if while I was under the care of my parents and they kind of, got Bruce Wayne-ed, my godparents would kind of try to share responsibility. But I think also my godparents are separate. It's my dad's sister and my mom's
So
sister.
Would you have okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
because in Pam's situation, she picked this couple,
Right.
And similarly, I'm thinking about my girlfriend's family, and her uncle is her godfather, but her godmother is someone else, I think. Boy, I hope she doesn't listen to this episode then.
Well,
just skip it.
To be fair, I wasn't trying to talk about your brownness. I was just
I know. I just like pointing that out because it's funny to me. No, I got you.
Because that's just not something that my family really does or did.
Well, that's the thing, because like I said, because my dad is Catholic, I feel like that's why we did it. But my
Right.
mother,
I mean, I know it's a big deal in the Catholic
yeah.
faith or tradition or however you want to say it.
And I guess for personal reference, my animals have no godparents because we're not practicing. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're like the way it comes down in like my family is like, okay, we're writing the will. Are you okay if we put you down as their like guardians if something bad were to happen to us? Like,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
There isn't like a formal ceremony because I know like the godfather, godmother stuff, like that's sort of more of a formal ceremony thing in certain religious traditions.
Yeah, that's right. Boy, we are a bunch of old dudes making weird sounds here because our bodies are just not
I
behaving
know.
correctly. Okay, so we find out also during that kind of community time period about this other group of people. It's a bunch of youthful kids who are practicing the faith and such, and they are taking a trip to Mexico to build a school.
Right.
Um, so that's all nice, and everybody's like,
Was it school or was it a hospital?
the joke is that Andy thinks it's a hospital.
Oh, right. I knew it was one of the two.
Yeah. Well, and then later on too, even though now Andy should know, Michael doesn't know, and Andy doesn't help clarify either. So there's a lot of excitement there, and it's kind of like the beginning inklings in Mike, where he's like seeing some like, oh, this is a room of people who like each other.
Right, because there's this undercurrent that Michael's been pushing about how we need to do more stuff together outside the office.
Right.
That's kind of why, I mean, it really picks up after he sees the youth group and everything.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I wondered if he bribed them to come.
The office folks.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, as we get through the ceremony, there's an issue with Cece where she poops or peeps herself or something. I guess it's a deuce, because then when Jim goes to go change, she starts urinating all over her dress.
Or something. I mean,
Right. Who knows?
You never
waste.
Yeah, I mean, I've got many younger brother, and you never know what's coming. Or sometimes it's just like, it's just lavaing, and it's just not pretty. So that happens.
And Jim has this great moment where he's like looking for this second outfit that they have, but it's not there, and he finds like a shirt, a sports.
Yeah. So it's got like Philly, like Eagles or Sixers or something.
Yeah. So Pam's like, you said that the spare outfit was in the car. And he's like, yes.
I said that. Yes.
And I feel like I do that all the time because like I feel confident that whoever is asking me did it already. And I'm like, yeah, you got it. But it goes in his face. So that's going. The priestess lady. I'm super not religious. I have no idea. So she, as she's wrapping up and the whole thing has happened, she falsely announces that everybody in attendance in church is invited to this Halbert post christening banquet, so to speak. Which is really just like a table of some scones and I guess one jug of apple cider.
Yeah, it seemed like they were going to do like a little small thing with just like family. I don't even know if like the office people were supposed to know was happening.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I could understand why the office people would go, right? I mean, that makes sense to me because they're friends-ish.
Right.
But the other people, no.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, so it's a show about all these people, and the hilarity is because of their interaction. So obviously they're all going to go. But I feel like realistically, like Daryl's going to go to the christening. He's going to make the appearance at the post-christening shindig and say, yo, what up? I don't got a Facebook. I'm out. Like, that's what everybody would do. But yeah, they all stay. They all have their own awkward table in the back. Just kind of like Phyllis's wedding too, you know? Like
but you also have that really odd dynamic when your boss is there, you know?
Sure, right.
Even though you're not at work, you kind of still feel like there's that power structure there that isn't.
Yeah. Well, and there's this great bit though where, I forget what Michael says, but he says something about like no food or something like that, and Kevin goes, "Honestly, Michael, sometimes." I'm like, I don't know. It's like this really uncharacteristic Kevin moment where like
Mhm.
because he's not at work, he's looking down on Michael for being dumb about something. Though I'm pretty sure the joke was like a food thing, so that's why Kevin was like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there was some of that in this episode. So we have this little side bit where uh, Pam or Jim says to the other something about Angela stealing their baby because they know how much she loves babies.
Right.
And so she tries to bolt, or she's leaving. She's leaving, and like Jim can't find Cece. He had left her with Meemaw, and then
Helly.
Grandma had her to
Right.
change her.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "That woman stole my baby."
Well, yeah, because one of the random church parishioners shows up and is like a small blonde woman, but it's like three tall dudes talking. So like
Right.
any shorter blonde
Well,
lady,
and it's not like Helene is. I mean, she's a pretty petite woman.
But that's what I mean. It's like short blonde is just a wide descriptor. But I feel like having known Angela, it's going to be like in Jim's brain that like she's the shortest, blondest of them
Right.
all, right? Yeah, so she tries to bolt it, but Kevin almost tackles her, looking for the baby in the purse. But we find scones, thousands of scones.
Thousands scones. And right. And, someone earlier, Sconesy Cider,
Yeah.
was complaining about not getting any scones.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because Pam went out to go get sandwiches because of all the people or whatever. So in this confrontation between Kevin and Angela, Pam drops all the sandwiches on the floor.
And here's one of those small things that definitely would not have happened at a church, because all those old ladies at that church, they would have had that stuff ready to go to like whip up food for these people. Like that is the one thing that churches are great about. They can cook, and they can cook in a hurry.
Churches?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, dude. Go to like an old Catholic church, go to like spaghetti dinner, you'll come out weighing like 20 pounds more. Like they'll feed you till you can't move anymore.
But does the church cook? I thought that people brought that.
Well, a lot of churches actually have kitchen, like a full commercial kitchen in the church for that kind of stuff.
Weird. I don't like it.
But in this episode, we do get one of the great Angela lines of the entire series, where she's bitching about how much food there is, and Pam or Jim says something about they make a joke about feeding the 5,000 with the 2 loaves of bread or 2 fish and 5, whatever the ratio of bread to fish is. It's like, and she's just like gets real serious, like, Jesus is not your caterer, and just like goes off.
Yeah. A lot of good Angela moments, because I feel like too she hasn't been super religious,
Right.
like since season 3 or so. Like they kind of just made her a general stickler.
Right.
But now this is an episode where they kind of remind us that she's got these strong religious connections or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan makes a comment about this youth group of folks going, about how who is it? Teachers something are hotter. Who's hotter? Teacher for America.
Teaching for America girls are hotter, but also way crazier, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that time Ryan spent in Thailand and in between and all that stuff was just him being like that weird 27 to 30-year-old dude. Like he was like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused,
Right.
Yeah, just a big old weirdo creep.
Oh, yeah, and he's just so raggy on religion, and I'm glad at least they made him no one was taking him seriously. Is like, you're being a douche, shut up kind of thing, right. And that was nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mike is giving them all this kind of stern talking to about how the youth kids are having fun. Why aren't they having fun? And Daryl has this great line where he's all like, "This is us going out. You want more of this?" Because they're just kind of sitting there irritable. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's exactly right. Because like you said, there's definitely an obligation where they're all out because of a boss.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike tries to kind of chase that excited feeling, and the kids start to leave. So he leaves his group and waits in line where he can participate in giving high fives to all these kids going or whatever. And it's this nice moment, and we get that Michael beat, where it's just too long now.
Yep.
Like
and he just goes. He just gets on the bus and goes. And yeah, it's actually like it's a good look at Michael, really, because he's just looking for somewhere to belong. He's lonely.
Right. I mean, this is a hint, right? This is like the beginning of his like departure at the end of this season.
Right. And we can kind of assume he hasn't been with anyone since Donna. So he's probably one reason why he wants to do more with the people at the office, because he's just by himself all the time.
Right. So the office crew sees him kind of sticking his head out the window, and they're all trying to, rightfully so, talk him out of it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it actually ends up making Andy feel like he can go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this combination of like him also not feeling great about where he's at, but Aaron makes some comments that indicate to him that, well, if he does this, might gain him some points with Aaron. So he hops onto the bus too.
But I think this also does kind of foreshadow the boat trip that he'd just be willing to boot,
Right. Yeah. And then they go. Everybody waves goodbye, and they stopped trying to put reason in with them, and they go. And and then as they're going, we find out like, okay, everybody's trying to sleep. They've got a 2-day plus drive ahead of them to get to Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, essentially to the Mexican border is 2,000 miles.
Yeah, that's a third of our country's length, right? Give or take.
Oh, it's more than that. I mean, it's a long way.
Yeah. And, so they start having this time to reflect on what they're really doing, eventually getting to the point where they freak out and demand that the bus driver pulls over to let them out. Apparently the next stop wasn't going to be till Tennessee.
Right.
Which is a bit of ways.
Mm-hmm. Closer than you think, but still quite a ways.
Yeah.
New York to LA is 2,700 miles, 2,800 miles. So
yeah, a little over.
And I put in here to Puebla, which is where, at least when I was that age, where all the mission trips were going, was sort of the Puebla region of Mexico, and that was like 26.5. So Scranton to Puebla is essentially New York to LA. I mean, it's a long way away.
Yeah. Yeah, so we talked about Angela stealing the baby, but right, this is, I think, one of the only times that we see Jim's dad here.
Right, you're right, and I don't remember because and you don't know who it is because I don't recognize him. I've seen Niagara plenty of times where I'm just like, he says, "Dad, I can't find Cece," and that might be the only time we see him.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been dad and mom stand-ins for Jim at Niagara, and they're just not brought up because they don't have like a story bit to it. But his folks aren't divorced because we know he makes that comment when Pam's dad decides to leave Helene.
Right, is either your parents or my parents.
Right. Yeah, so Mike and Andy and another person get off the bus when they finally stop.
Don't tell my parents.
Yeah. Aaron comes to pick him up, and she shares with the whole office crew as it's supposed to be a movie after the fact. You guys can't see it, but Jacob's doing a great example of the old vampire cape cough. Way to go, hygiene.
I'm trying to not spit everywhere.
Yeah. But then, and Michael has kind of this stupid grin on his face where he's like excited to be what he calls back in America, even though he's 20 minutes away from the church.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it seemed to like maybe an hour, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, though, because what's her face? Aaron said people are mostly left the church,
Right.
indicating that maybe someone's still at the church, but maybe it's Toby and he's doing whatever weird Jesus thing he does. Yeah. So that's the long and short of it. What do you think, man?
I was really ready to hate this episode. It's not one of my favorites, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. When you watch it in terms of like looking for like all the connections, there's a lot more there than I realized. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
It's a great line from anything it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similarly, I didn't come in with a lot of expectations. You know, it's one of those episodes that I'll have in the background, but if I'm like actively watching The Office, maybe I'll skip it. And as I was watching it, I still felt the same way. But talking it out with you definitely helps to kind of point out some of the things that are important moving forward. So I'm going to give it a 2.7 out of 5 thousands of scones.
Thousands of scones. Yeah, I think the thing with this episode, it's a character development episode.
Right.
It's not overly funny. Like, I don't know if I laughed really once, but yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and I don't have the name on here, but season 7, episode 8,
The Viewing Party.
Viewing Party, right? Written by John Vitti. I think it's actually supposed to be Vito or Voti. I don't know. And directed by Ken Whittingham. Whittingham.
So we start off with everybody in the annex watching a TV that is showing that police are outside of the suspected Scranton Stranglers.
Right.
Home.
Like someone busts into the main office. Like, you guys see this. They've caught the Strangler.
Yeah. So to bring back up the theories here, Toby is not in this scene at all. And some other sleuths have pointed out that what appears to be the car in the car chase later on is the car that Toby's been seen driving, though they admit that Toby drives like 3 cars during the run of the show. So it's like, what does that mean? But anyways, that's another thing. I don't think Toby's a strangler, but you know.
So if he was a Scranton Strangler, he got on the jury. He got on the jury to convict somebody else, then feigned being guilty about it for 2 years, then goes to visit him.
Yeah, I mean, they say it might be, well, because first of all, it can't be him, right? Because they're outside of the house and he gets caught during this car chase.
Right.
But, yeah, they say after the conviction later on, he starts feeling guilty, saying they put away the wrong guy. A lot of people feel like that's because he knows he's the right guy. Because he goes to strangling. Anyways.
And what I love is, like, you hear the news, like, you know, the woman on the news, like, in, like, Michael's, like, copycatting her, like, oh, there's a SWAT. Oh, they have him surrounded.
Yeah. So eventually, we don't see how, but it ends up as a car chase. The car chase seems to be going down their street, and everybody runs to the conference room to see it, and Mike's the only one to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes outside and puts some of the gravel into a little jar, and then he pretends to have a conversation with his future grandson, culminating in him offering this jar of dirt, saying, go and buy yourself a spaceship.
Right. I mean, it would be an interesting, because I mean, I've never really given the Scranton Strangler thing too much thought, but I mean, depending on how many people he killed, he would be near, I mean, we know it's like 5 or 6 people, if not more. He'd be kind of high on the pantheon of American serial killers. So,
yeah. Well, and let me ask you this, and I don't expect you to know the answer specifically, but to strangle, does that always end in death?
I mean,
what if he strangles and then leaves before he finishes the job? He's just like, I just wanted you to know that I could have done it. Punk.
I mean, yeah, but we may. I mean, at least they make it seem like he's a serial killer.
It does. Yeah. Well, it has to be like, yeah, I mean, I guess they've done some pretty violent stuff on the show in terms of what they've talked about with like Dwight specifically cutting faces off of CPR dolls.
Yep.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
this show is quietly dark.
Yeah. Well, because I guess I wonder, like, the Scranton Stabber, was that too dark? Like, the Strangler, for some reason, is funner. Because, like, who strangles anybody nowadays?
I don't know. I mean, it could have
Technology
been one of
has
those.
advanced so much, like, strangling is just so yesterday. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we could. If you really want a good show on serial killers, watch Mindhunter on Netflix. It is a fuck job, but oh man, it's good. Like,
Is that a documentary show? Like
it's a docudrama.
Docudrama.
Mm-hmm. It's based on the team from the FBI that essentially created profiling.
I see.
It's really good, but it's really hard to watch at times. Like, but 10 out of 10 would recommend.
There you go. Yeah, not to plug other podcasts. My girlfriend's really big into My Favorite Murder, which is a show that's going around, and it's two comedian chicks talking about their favorite murders.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. They've been going for a while, and I've been listening to a lot of true crime podcasts myself.
My wife would love that show. She's all into the serial killers.
Oh, yeah. So murder's been a big thing in our household.
Murder. Sorry.
So let me see here. Okay. So the actual episode starts off with Aaron holding a very nicely decorated invitation, trying to talk to Michael. Right. Michael insists on doing the West Wing walk with me moment.
Is that what he's doing? Is that the West Wing? I knew I recognized it from somewhere, but I couldn't place it. I'm not a huge West Wing guy. Like, I have nothing against the show. I've just never really watched it. I've watched like half the season.
No, yeah, exactly. It's older, but it has style or whatever. There's no hallways. They're just walking around that bullpen like twice.
Right.
But yeah, it's a Glee viewing party. Everybody in the office is invited.
Mm-hmm.
It's at Gabe's place. But
right. So we get 2 episodes in a row that are essentially not at the office. I mean, there is some at the office, but so Michael, he's in the break room. Someone asks him about the party.
Right.
And I think it was Kevin, says, well, you got to go to the boss's party.
Right.
And so this sets off this chain of events where Michael's really pissed at Gabe because he feels like somehow Gabe is trying to usurp, or to put it in a Michaelism, usurp his power.
Right. So we're taking applications for new podcast hosts.
Yes, because I will be dead before the next show.
Yeah, no. So Kevin makes this comment, and there's other people in the office. I think Daryl and Oscar are behind Michael as Kevin and Mike have this conversation. So we get our close-ups or whatever, and then Michael turns around to ask the other 2 if they also think Gabe is their boss, but they've bolted. So it's just this awkward one-on-one, and Kevin doesn't deal with pressure very well. But it's weird, and I mean, we never feel like Gabe is the boss, right? So I'm trying to wonder how realistic would it be for anybody else in that office to put Gabe in a position of power.
Well, he's got a direct line to the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who moved Daryl's idea up. So he did something above Michael. And we've seen that at least with Daryl's idea from the Halloween episode. So maybe that's it. He's not the boss, but he's probably higher rank than everybody but Michael.
Yeah, well, it's this weird thing where I'm trying to think like a CEO has an assistant, right?
Right.
And that assistant generally only has to respond to the CEO, right? But
right.
Take that,
and that's definitely what.
Boss.
Right, and that's definitely how. What was his title? Because I mean, he comes off as an assistant to Joe, but he does have a title of Director of Emerging Regions, I think.
Yeah. Right.
And so I could see it. he's the new corporate guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be an easy, if you were in that position, it'd be easy to go, oh, he's the new Jan or Ryan, or, and we actually get the litany of Michael, like, boss murders, like,
Yeah.
Ryan, Charles, Jan went crazy.
Yeah. So as Michael accepts this invitation, though, he makes a comment that I wasn't really specifically going to address, but you have it in your notes, where Michael says his favorite character in Glee is the invalid.
Yeah, I like. Is there like a character in Glee known as the invalid? Because I've never seen.
Sure.
I've never seen an episode of Glee. I don't even know if I've seen 15 minutes of Glee.
That is totally fine. There is a character on that show who is in a wheelchair. Now, that character is played by the same actor who was the pizza delivery kid who gets kidnapped during Launch Party.
Okay.
So I don't know if they specifically point that character out because of his connection to the show.
I can almost guarantee you they did. Yeah. Well, okay. That's sort of like a inside baseball meta joke right there.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
But also how extremely inappropriate of Michael to refer to anybody that way.
Well, and that's why I was asking the question was Michael being inappropriate, or was there someone in the show they actually call the invalid?
Yeah, no. I don't think so. It's a Fox show. They might, but I don't think so.
So we get to Gabe's place, and it's nice. Like, he's got a double oven.
Yep.
Like, backsplash, granite countertops, 3 big bedrooms. This guy's got to be making some bank doing what he's doing for Saber.
I mean, if he's paying for it with money and not credit or anything like that.
Right. I mean, I just did a quick search of like Scranton area apartment complexes today, and like that's at minimum $2,000 a month where he's staying. Yeah,
I mean, and it's interesting, right? Because that is probably that area. That much money will get you not that nice a place in my area because of the wonderful, wonderful New York City. Everybody wants to be here. It is a pretty nice place. He's got a lot of shit. He's got like a lot of Japanese trinkets and stuff, vintage posters that have been like remounted on canvas or something.
Mm-hmm.
What I would imagine is a very acceptable, decent entertainment setup for the time.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a pretty nice TV.
Yeah. They got TiVo or something, whatever records.
I mean, this is what, 2010 when this came out?
I've never owned a DVR in my life.
Right, but
so I guess I only say that because it's hard for me to pinpoint when that was.
Right. I mean, by then, by 2008, some kind of DVR was pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that. I don't know if he had TiVo, but
something. Yeah. Yeah. So it's nice, and the theme of the party, aside from watching Glee, is to make your own pizza, which to me instantly reminds me of this restaurant idea that Kramer had in Seinfeld, where people would come and make their own pies. But the whole shtick of that episode is everybody else telling him no one wants to go to a restaurant to make their own food. So Gabe is throwing a party where that's exactly the shtick, which I think is funny.
There's kind of places like that though, like Papa Murphy's. If you've ever been to there,
I have not.
So what they do is it's essentially they do everything but bake it. So they assemble the pizza, they do everything, they give you the baking instructions, you just grab it and take it home.
Oh, I see.
So they have all of the toppings and everything, and it's at least the 1 or 2 times I've had it's really cheap. Like you can get like a 5.
Yeah, because
5 top.
Fuck it up, man.
Yeah, you can get like a 5 topping whatever for like 5 topping large for like $7 or $8.
Yeah, that's not bad. So there's a lot of things going on. Kelly has a love-hate relationship with Glee, and that's kind of prevalent throughout the whole episode during specific moments. Jim and Pam have brought Cece because they have to, and Cece is reverse cycling, so staying awake all night, sleeping all day, causing Pam to have to be awake all night and then all day to go to work.
Right.
Angela and Dwight are doing some sex contract stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Andy is pining for Aaron,
like he does,
as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and Michael is having this weird power struggle with Gabe, who is unaware that there is any type of power struggle because Gabe is just being Gabe.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of different things going on in this episode, and so I think that's probably why it feels really fast, because like all the storylines are, I mean, they're very separate. They really don't cross over at all, and they're all happening just like boom, 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 boom. So like Pam, Jim, Dwight, that's like a 2-minute arc, and then there's all these like little itty bitty arcs in this one.
Yeah. Let's see. Aaron says that the duo of Gabe and Michael is Gay Mike.
Right. And it would be a perfect combination, apparently. So, Gay Mike, we look forward to your email. We know you're out there.
Yeah, that's like the third movie in the Magic Mike series. Dwight would watch a show called Thirst.
Right. I would totally watch a show like producer Dwight Schrute, Thirst. Yeah. Like some sort of like Fear Factor like show that's just awful.
Yeah. We get some sad insight into Michael, who thinks this pizza thing is too fancy. He will just eat a bag of steamed microwavable vegetables, probably.
We've all done it.
I mean, I don't know if I would just make a bag of veggies and watch TV. I mean, chuck in some dino-shaped nugs or something like that.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, we've all had those times where it's like, I'm feeling late. But this is like, for us, it's like I'm feeling really lazy. For Michael, it's just like modus operandi, you know?
Yeah.
And so he has this really weird thing about how he says, he's like, if I ever start, he's talking to Pam, if I ever start acting like that weenie Gabe, I have a loaded gun in my desk.
Yeah.
So do we actually think Michael has a loaded gun in his desk?
Well, so this is one of the few episodes where Michael legitimately threatens someone's life. I feel like we talked about this a couple seasons ago. Because he only does it a handful of times. But he does it here. And then he makes this weird gun desk comment. I feel like not.
Because Pam asks him if Jay-Rey froze. Hello, Jay-Rey. Hello? Maybe it's me. I don't know. So anyway, Michael has this he says to Pam, I don't know where it is. I might have lost it.